Shalom. All praises to the Most High. All praises to His holy name. Well, I just shared a video by Lisa Gabbero, I believe her name is. And she was talking about the proposal in California for a reparation proposal for the American Israelites that they call Negro or African Americans. The Most High has already been training you to let you know. Let me read this scripture to you. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. The Most High already explained in the scriptures, he said, in the sealed portion, he said, I can make you be free, but I can give you the words and the knowledge so you can choose for yourself whether you want to be free or not. We're not said that this because I can't speak for everybody, meaning that some people might not agree with the Bible, with the word of the Most High, so I can't speak for them. So I'm gonna speak for myself and anybody that agrees with the scriptures, which is the word. The word he said that when I speak, it's the same as he's speaking if I say what he say. So on the record, this is a public acknowledgement for the record that I'm speaking on the record on behalf of the Most High for his people. And I'm gonna do it according to his words about reparation. So, fair use. I'm just establishing a case to prove who we are: Aboriginal, Indigenous, American Israelites. Fair use. I'm gonna use Alabama Senator calls Black Americans Aboriginals. We're not black. That's a term. See, those are trap phrases. Black, African American. See, if you claim to be I'm just saying for your consideration, if you claim to be black, African American, or United States citizens, them are all traps and you can't trust wrong. You're going to be back in slavery again. And they're going to wave a few dollars in your face and you're going to be right back in slavery. I'm speaking on behalf of the Most High. He said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then I'll hear from heaven. And hopefully you'll hear from heaven tonight. If you've been praying, if you've been seeking his face, and if you turn from your evil ways. Claiming to be a United States citizen or black or African American, these are sins, evil ways, bywords, trap words. They don't make anybody else sign the dotted line and claim to be somebody they not. They just get them reparations. Why do you have to claim to be something they call you to receive reparations? See, that's the trap. Consider. If they really want to do right by you, just let you be yourself. I'm reading something else to you. Origin. Before I get started. I'm going to go to the Webster's Dictionary. It says that we're the Aboriginals, and I'm going to read Aboriginal first. Webster 1828 Dictionary, Aboriginal. Adjective. It says see origin, but first it says first original primitive Aboriginal people are the first inhabitants of a country. Aboriginal tribes of America. Aboriginal, adjective, an original, primitive inhabitant. The first settlers in a country are called aboriginals, as the Celts in Europe and Indians in America. We're going to prove tonight, once again, that these same aboriginals and these same people they call Indians are what they call the Negroes. But the Most High didn't call us Negroes, he called us Israelites. And we are the true Americans. Let's look at the term America. American. We just found out the first settlers, the first aboriginals in America were called aboriginals, Indians. That's what the people called us, but Most High calls us Israelites. Webster says, American, now a native of America, originally applied to we're the original Native Americans, and originally applied to the Aboriginal or copper-colored races found here by the Europeans. See, we was here first, by all definition. We're not asking for no handout. We're just saying you took our land. Okay, right. Then I'm going to use the Northern Kingdom's explanation, which is they call it the sealed portion, which some people say they don't read, but this is the word of God. We're going to use this on evidence too. The sealed portion, chapter 79, before I come back to where I was at. I'm going to let the Most High's word prove the case, with foundational information to support the Most High's word. They cannot be confounded nor denied. This is for the record. The Most High is going to speak. Along with evidence that supports his statements. The sealed portion, chapter 79. The header reads, the Americas are discovered and conquered in wickedness. On the record, verse 1. And it shall come to pass among the nations of this great European empire, which shall be formed from other nations and kingdoms of the earth, that a group of people who shall travel across the great oceans and establish themselves in the land of our fathers, these shall begin to prosper exceedingly in all things. And there shall also be the rich among them who shall become rich from the land and the things that they shall take from the land of my fathers. Let that be on the record. For behold, the Lamanites, the American Israelites, shall be on the land when it is discovered by the great European nations of the latter day. Let that be on the record. All this is on the record. And at this time they shall be a humble people, having their own tribes and nations upon the land. Most High said we were humble. Our ancestors was humble people. And though the spirit of the law shall not be with them directly, and then you say, well, that's Bible. Well, don't you have the Bible in your courts of law? So this is the Northern Kingdom's Bible. That brings more light on the Bible you have on your desk in your courts. We bring more light to the subject. And at this time, they should be a humble people having their own tribes and nations upon the land. And though the spirit of the law shall not be with them directly, they shall remember many of the teachings of their fathers and begin to establish peace amongst themselves according to their traditions and the customs which shall be passed down to them from generation to generation. And it shall come to pass that Lucifer shall influence the discovery of the land of promise. What is the land of promise? Let's go to sealed portion, chapter 84, verse, was it 81, verse 41? Let's go 81, 41. See what it says. We'll come up the land of promise. The sealed portion, chapter 81, verse 41, says the land. We'll talk about what the land of promise was, the place that, the original place that our ancestors was at in the beginning, called Adam and Eve. But in the beginning, it was not so. And I have shown unto you that the record of my fathers have come forth unto Joseph. Well, since I'm of this lineage, I'm of the tribe of Ephraim, from the house of Joseph, I'm going to be those Josephs that are going to speak today on the record. But in the beginning, it was not so, and I have shown unto you that the record of my fathers shall come forth unto Joseph, and he shall translate the part which is unsealed and publish it to the world, so that all might know of the work of the Father which was wrought upon this, the land of Eden, which is this promised land, which will be called in the latter days the United States of America. Put that on the record. Go back to 79 before I'm going to find the place back in chapter 79, and then I'm going to put something else on the record for more evidence to support the truth of this statement. Said Adam and Eve were the first ones to be in the promised land, and the Most High has confirmed that the promised land was called in today America. So Adam and Eve was the first ones to be in America. And let's find out who Adam and Eve was and all of his children. We found out the first people that was in America were the Aboriginals. Grandmothers. This is called the Book of Remembrance of Our Ancient Grandmothers. Grandmothers 1 in 99. And it came to pass that I set, let me establish for the record, to bring this into evidence. Most High said, if my people will humble themselves and pray and seek my face, he said, then I'll heal their land. Forgive their sins and I'll heal their land. That's a paraphrase for the record. But then this supports that what he said, if we humble ourselves and seek him, he going to answer. This is his answer. Malachi 3:16, then they that feared the law spake often one to another, and the law hearkened and heard it. And a book of remembrance was written for them that feared the law and that thought upon his name. So I'm bringing the book of remembrance into evidence, called the Book of Remembrance of Our Ancient Grandmothers. Grandmother chapter 1, verse 99. And it came to pass that I sat pondering these things, and I could see that the children of Yasakad and Avid and Kava, that's the original names of Adam and Eve, were the very first indigenous people wherever they spread themselves. Now we just found out Adam and Eve, the first Aboriginal indigenous people in the land called America, was the Aboriginals that they called Indians. Then we come to find out the very first man that ever been in the world was in America. And he was Aboriginal indigenous along with his children. So I'm going to go to another piece of work called Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, Volume 2, The Columbian Era, this book here. And let's see what it says about these Aboriginal people. Page 51, dark-skinned people of the Americas. In any case, between the year 1492 and 1501, at least 3,000 Native Americans, we already see these the quote-unquote Negroes, African Americans, were known to be shipped to Europe, with the likely total being possibly double that. Most were sent to Seville area, where they seemed to show up in the slave markets as Negroes. What most people don't realize is Negro was a terminology that was used to describe the indigenous people of the Americas. So now we just described Adam and Eve, the very first American, all the way down to the people that they said the Americas were discovered and conquered in wickedness by the Europeans, on the record. Verse 1, and it shall come to pass among the nations of this great European empire, which shall be formed from other nations and kingdoms of the earth, that a group of people who shall travel across the great oceans and establish themselves in the land of my father, yet these shall begin to prosper exceedingly in all things. And there shall also be the rich among them who shall become rich from the land and the things that they shall take from the land of my fathers, America. So, from all the way back from Adam to now, it's been our land. And they became rich from the things they took from our land. On the record. For behold, the Lamanites, the American Israelites, shall be upon the land when it is discovered by these great European nations of the latter days. And at this time, they shall be a humble people having their own tribes and nations upon the land. And though the spirit of the law of Yahweh shall not be with them directly, they shall remember many of the teachings of their fathers and begin to establish peace amongst themselves according to their traditions and customs, which shall be passed down to them from generation to generation. And it shall come to pass that Lucifer shall influence the discovery of the land of promise. We just proved that the land of promise is called America. Which is filled with all manner of precious things, which are the desires of this great and abominable church of which I have spoken, which is synonymous with the European nations. And when the promised land is discovered by the people of the great European empire, synonymous, they just said the great European nations, which is synonymous with the abominable church. They should begin to search for gold and silver, for that is of value to them. And it shall come to pass that they shall begin to destroy the Lamanites, the American Israelites, and take from them their lands and force them into places which are desolate and void of the precious things that these European nations desire. We just proved that these Aboriginal people, they call it the Lamanites, which are the Most High calls Israelites, are Americans. And they said that these American Israelites are called Negroes. Therefore, there can be no argument that can discredit that on the record. And the Lamanites or American Israelites should begin to dwindle in numbers and lose their nations and their lands to the effects of the lusts of the great and abominable church, the European nations. And the men of the European nations who shall destroy the American Israelites, the Aboriginal indigenous, quote unquote, Negro, shall think that they are doing God a service because they believe that the Lamanites or the American Israelites, the Aboriginal indigenous, quote unquote, Negroes, And all those who have a dark skin are those who have been cursed of God and not worthy of the full blessings of the Father. Let's get another reference to prove that the man they call Jesus Christ was also one of these dark-skinned Negroes, quote unquote. John 16:2. They shall put you out of the synagogues, yeah. The time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think that he is doing God a service. Sealed portion, chapter 79, verse 9. It says the men, but we've already established that these men that did this were Europeans of the Great Abominable Church. And the men who shall destroy the Lamanites, the Aboriginal indigenous, quote unquote, Negroes, who are Israelites, American Israelites, shall think that they are doing God a service. So that the Most High, this reference that he was talking about us, the American Israelites, Aboriginals, indigenous people, that the Europeans call nigger. It's a reference in the Bible that calls us nigger. Now there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers, as Barnabas and Simeon, that was called Acts 13:1. Now, from the same book, Revealing America's Dark-Skinned Past, one of our ancestors from the past was this beautiful woman here. A beautiful, what they call Negro woman, quote unquote. An Aboriginal indigenous Israelite woman. Put this on the record for evidence. Page 46. And it reads, her memory is still celebrated today, 5 centuries after her hanging. That's what they usually do to quote unquote niggers, the Europeans, for the record. She is remembered not only as a leader of her people, she is known for the ballads, songs, and poetry she created. An 18th century poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson, even wrote a poem about her, which he never published, given various unconvincing reasons, but perhaps providing the real reason in an unguarded comment describing that black bitch and a corner. For the record. Right there, you can see they bleeped it out, but that black bitch. The bottom says Spaniards pursuing the inhabitants of the island. California is an island. Speaking of California, let me go to who is Esau Edom. Speaking of the land that the Creator created, that it called California, is also ours for the record. Who is Esau Edom? Page 71. It says the colored race Mexico, which of its origins were called Negroes, Aboriginal indigenous people. The colored race Mexico was forced to cede half of its territory by coercion, force. So it's returned to us because it was taken. It was not given away, forced to cede half of its territory, including California, Arizona, Texas, and New Mexico. Into the hands of the white race, the Europeans. It says America, but America belongs to the copper-colored Aboriginal indigenous people. The United States corporation is a European foreign corporation, for the record. The United States is not America. Even the Roman Catholic Pope's private attorney stated in her acknowledgement that the United States is not America. So when California talks about reparation should only go to, in California, the Aboriginal indigenous Americans, the quote-unquote Negroes. And the term Mexican originally is quote-unquote Negro. So anybody that's claimed themselves to be a Mexican, they have to claim to also be a Negro, which eventually have to claim that they're Israelites, Americans, according to the Most High's word. And since you use the Bible in your courts, the Most High's people are called Israelites. So all the true Americans are Aboriginal, indigenous, American, Israelites. He said called by his name, not called. He never called us Negro, black, colored, African American, none of that. That's terms that the European used to enslave us under dumb diverses. And he never called us Christians. (28) USC Code 3002, Section 14 and 15. State means any of the several states, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the Commonwealth of Northern Marianas, and any territory or possession of the United States. See, if you claim to be a United States citizen, now they're going to use you as a possession of theirs. And they're going to try to lure you in, for the record, by waving money in your face, quote unquote money in your face, to claim, say, we'll give it to you if you claim to be black, African American, etc. But the Most High said, if you call by my name. The United States means a federal corporation, an agency, department, commission, board, or other entity of the United States. Any instrumentality of the United States, which is a corporation. This is not putting the United States down. It's just telling you that you don't belong to the United States unless you claim it. You are. That's why the Roman Catholic Pope private attorney said, claim to be who you are. That's why I tell you, for the record, I'm an American Israelite. from the house of Joseph, the tribe of Ephraim. Let's see what the Alabama senator calls, in his term, Black American Aboriginals. We're not black, though. Well, I'm not. You can claim what you want to claim. I'm not black. I'm a Aboriginal, indigenous American Israelite, called by the Most High's name. Fair use.
See, you use the word Aborigines talking about African Americans.
You know, I've dealt with that issue. I've already, talked publicly about that.
And my purpose here today is to say that I'm very sorry, and I apologize to anyone whose feelings were hurt by my comment.
I've made very, very clear I don't know where that comment comes from.
Well, from your subconscious.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's not even a normal thing anyone would say, even if you meant something in a negative fashion. I don't know if you would pull that out. But for me personally, you can't just close down camp and stop trying to do the things that you think are right. Just because somebody, you may give them an unfortunate bit of ammunition, you still got to continue to fight on and do what's best for the state in the long run. And but frankly, it's going to give me an opportunity to, talk about things that I may never been able to talk about before.
You mean the bill?
Or the bill, or talk about, race relations issues, things like that. I mean, I have a freedom that a lot of people don't have because of that.
Because you use the word Aboriginal.
Because I've been through the fire, and I can talk to people, I can relate to people, I can let them know what kind of person I am, and we can talk about things that sometimes have been, a little bit taboo. So
because it allowed you to reach audiences you might not otherwise have reached, do you not regret saying it?
I think it gives me some opportunities. I went and spoke to a group in the city of Birmingham. It was a city councilwoman's community meeting, probably 95% African American. And because of, things that I regret, offhand remark I should not have made.
Using the word Aboriginal.
Right, offhand remark I should not have made.
Which you don't want to say.
Yeah, I know better. But what it allowed me to do, they actually listened to what I said, probably more than they would have anybody else, because they want to see, this is that guy, this is that person. And we discussed immigration, we discussed policy that deals with the county locally, and there was the ability to actually get across some things that may have surprised them, that they realized, okay, this guy's making some good sense on some issues. I don't know if I would ever have had that door even opened if some of those things had not happened. So it really has worked as a positive in a surprising way to me to allow me to interact with people.
Your other incendiary quote was empty the clip, the gun clip, juxtaposed with immigration, so people think that's what you meant. So how do you explain that?
Well, it definitely had nothing to do with violence against anyone. It was totally taken out of context. The purpose of it was I was telling an audience that we needed to exhaust all efforts to try to deal with a number of issues. By the time it got through 2 or 3 newspaper filters, it was all over the country that I had advocated violence against immigrants. Nothing is farther from the truth.
Even the video reads, Aboriginal, being the first or earliest known of its kind present in a region. To get back to the sealed portion, chapter 79. Verse 9. And the men who shall destroy the American Israelites, the Aboriginal indigenous people, American Israelites, shall think that they are doing God a service because they believe that the American Israelites and all those who are of a dark skin are those who have been cursed of God and not worthy of the full blessings of the Father. And he talked about who said this was the European nations and the abominable church. So that European abominable nation, abominable church, their belief system is they don't believe that people with dark skin are worthy to receive the full blessings of the Heavenly Father. That's their doctrine. Who taught this? Verse 10, and this wickedness shall be taught unto them by their leaders and their priests. who are all servants of Satan, and shall follow his will in all things. Let me get back to the sealed portion, chapter 27. Anything less than this, the Most High is not accepting. Anything offered from you less than this means you trying to cheat us. And the Most High is not pleased. I'm going to let the Most High speak. For the record. And he don't want us called by your names. He wants us called by his name. So if you have any kind of stigma or any kind of prerequisite that we must be called by your name in order to get it, then you know that you've been deceptive. All right, let's go to 27. Verse 92. It's been established that all the harm you've done, even since 1492, of all the carnage and different things you've done to us as a people, this is the Most High's answer to you. And again, I say unto you, if you observe to do whatever I command you, I, Yahweh, shall turn away all the wrath and indignation from you. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against you. Now I speak unto you concerning the families that you have set up among you. These are the Europeans. And also the nations which exist because of these families which you have set up contrary to the commandments that I have given unto you. But because you have desired these things, I have suffered that you should remain among you according to the desires of your hearts. And if any nation shall rise up and smite you once, and you bear it patiently and revile not against them, we have never reviled against them. Neither seek revenge, you shall be rewarded. But if you bear it not patiently, it shall be accounted unto you as being meted out as just measure unto you. And again, if your enemy shall smite you the second time, and you revile not against your enemy and bear it patiently, your reward shall be 100-fold. But if you bear it not patiently, even this second time, then you shall be justified in your action. But you should not receive no reward from me. See, you might receive a reward from them in their name, but he said, but if you do what I tell you, you're going to receive a reward from me, the Most High. And again, if your enemy shall smite you the third time and you bear it patiently, your reward should be doubled unto fourfold. That's waiting on him. So we already proved that all of the Europeans' wealth has come from our land, our gold and silver. Everything that was worth of anything to them, they got it from us on our land. So that means all of their wealth, you got to give it back to us 4 times. So a measly $5 million or whatever you coming up with, that's not suffice. You got to give back 4 times what you taking from us since you came here. That's the Most High's word. And these 3 testimonies shall stand against your enemy if he repent not, and shall not be blotted out and I shall remember them always and bring my vengeance upon them for your sake. Most High has spoken. And then I'm going to use the Roman Catholic's private attorney who already gave acknowledgments and notifications of all the wrongdoing they've done to us for over 150 years ago. I've also included that in the heading to prove that we are the descendants of Joseph of Egypt. We are the tribe of Ephraim, the house of Joseph, the Aboriginal Indigenous Americans that they call Native Americans, the original Aboriginal Indigenous people. I'm just going to read a little bit from what a column she wrote. She says, the end of the 400 years of European meddling and predation in America by Anna von Ritz. The Constitution was saved and a new foundation begun. The Native Americans are now free to come home to the land they were removed from. How were they removed? They were removed from being who they are as a nation of people and subjugated into a corporate entity. That's how we were removed from our land. But through their acknowledgments of all the wrong they've done for over 150 years, all things have been returned to us, free and clear of any debt, encumbrance, or any such thing. She goes on to say, the Native Americans are now free to come home to the land that they were removed from, no longer POWs, prisoners of war. They have regained their sovereignty as free. So we don't have to say it, she said it. And she was speaking for that Roman Catholic Pope, who that's the statement he used to get rid of dumb diverses or the doctrine of discovery. He gave back everything to us, but it was really the Most High gave it back to us, but he just, by necessity, had to agree with him, and he gave a statement. And when she spoke and wrote in this notice, this acknowledgement, it was the same as he speaking. So there's no more dumb diverses. There's no more doctrine of discovery. And he also took off in 2019. He removed the title of the Vicar of Christ from his title, proving that all things have been returned back to the Most High's people as he promised. The Native Americans, now we can know that these are the so-called African Americans or so-called Negroes, who the Most High calls Israelites, American Israelites, Native Americans, Aboriginal Indigenous people. The Native Americans are now free to come home to the land they were removed from. No longer POWs. They have regained their sovereignty as free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land. The United States of America and the free, sovereign, and independent people living on the land have regained their sovereignty in the international jurisdiction of the sea. For the first time since 1789, Americans are in full control of both their natural land and sea jurisdictions. We are finally whole. That's from the Roman Catholic Pope private attorney. You know, they other jargon in there, but that would probably try to make the Europeans also included, but the Most High didn't include them. He's talking about the people who was here before the Europeans got here. That's what this is all about. They don't deserve to be in on our blessing, because they the one came over and took all of our things. I just read it to you. You might not agree, but I've proven it without a shadow of a doubt. The Most High has spoken.